This is the Get Vocal podcast.
So, welcome back to the Get Vocal podcast. We've got a special episode today. We are kind of looking at the origins of Get Vocal, as we've got Brett and Dan, who run the sessions on a Monday. So, for all the people that don't know who you are, who haven't been yet, introduce yourselves. Who are you?
Let you go first, mate.
Thank you. I'm Brett. I obviously work at Blackpool FC Community Trust, oversee a variety of programmes that support young people that are out in the community, trying to get them into positive pathways, putting on positive activities like sport, football, and obviously facilitate the Get Vocal group with Dan every Monday.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm Dan. Brett's my manager of the community cohesion team. So my normal job role is I work with children that are involved in antisocial behaviour and early involvement in crime and things like that. But obviously, I'm here as part of Get Vocal now as well. So it kind of links in with the mental health aspect and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's
Get Vocal.
That's the one.
What is it?
What is it?
To start there, as broad as it is,
It's
what
not
is
just
it?
a podcast. So
Not
what is
just a
it?
podcast, yeah.
So for you, in terms of the what you're involved in, how you're involved in it, how can you best describe it to someone that's listening to this? What is it?
Yeah,
Because there'll be a lot of people thinking,
what's that? What does it mean?
yeah.
So it is what it says in the tin. It's essentially, we launched it a year ago,
4th
a
of
World
October
Mental Health Day last
yeah.
year. So we've been running it for a year now, and it is essentially encouraging men to get vocal. We run a session every Monday night, 6 to 8 o'clock, and it's as simple as turning up, having a brew, having a chat with me and Dan. And yeah, again, we're mindful of, we know it's not the easiest thing to do for blokes to kind of turn up to a group of strangers and walk in and be expected to kind of talk about the mental health or their struggles, but we're kind of, one of the ideas of the podcast was to try and get that message out there that actually it is a safe space. It is just a group of blokes having a brew, having a chat, and getting
Like we're
stuff off
doing.
the chest.
Right.
Exactly like we're
Essentially,
doing.
yeah.
Well, not a brew, bottle of water, is it?
Bottle of water.
Still waiting for that link. Sprigg. I mean, to be fair, we mentioned it before, but the Get Vocal sessions, they are incredible. I must admit, obviously I've been to one, and if anyone's listening who's sat there thought, I'm going to go to Get Vocal, but I just can't work myself up to it, I was in that position about 6 weeks ago where I thought, somebody who is actually quite in tune with speaking how I feel and being honest with myself and going, actually, no, I can talk up, and that's hence why we're here and done what we've done for so long. I struggled to get there for the first session. So I've been in the car park, turned around and gone, nope, not today, thank you. The week after, I was like, nope, I'm going to push myself, I'm going to go in. So it's that first step. It is that first little bridge barrier that you've got to pass. So if you are sat there thinking, I am going to go, but I just can't work myself up to the moment, do it. That first door is always the hardest to push open.
Oh, definitely.
But after that, they all open quite easily. Could say it's like an automatic door.
I think with going off that as well, I think, that's been a sort of common theme as well throughout the group, isn't it? That we've had blokes that'll turn up and, they've said that they've been sat outside in the car park or they've been walking past and things like that, and they're like, I couldn't bring myself in to do it. But then as soon as they've taken that initial step and they walk through the door, and it's a daunting, like Brett said a minute ago, it's a daunting feeling, isn't it? Going into a new environment with a load of blokes that you don't know, and you're essentially making yourself vulnerable by opening up and talking about all these different things. But I mean, we've seen it firsthand that they come in and it's like, oh, this isn't what I anticipated. Then it just sort of flows, and like going off topic a little bit, but the camaraderie that's come from the group and things like that, and it's for us to be facilitators of that and see that, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So what does a typical session look like? I mean, obviously I can say what it's like, but
I reckon, in fact, how did it actually all come about though? That's the thing. How did it come about in terms of the actual initiative itself? Where did it come from? Where did
Started with the council, if I'm right thinking, didn't
Yeah, so Get Vocal is like the shirts, a council kind
Sexy
of
little shirt.
sexy shirt.
Yeah.
get it in.
doing the plugs.
Funny story. I'll come
Not
back to the
available.
question quickly.
Potentially.
Was in the corner shop recently, and the guy went, "I've seen you on Facebook," and I was like, "Oh, that's not good." But, yeah, you're the guy in the bright shirt that's always doing that men's mental health. So I was like, yeah, that's me. That's the one. I'll take that.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a
So
really
again,
good.
it's
People are taking
Yeah,
notes.
the word,
yeah, that's
the
it.
word's getting out there. But yeah, essentially it came around. So Get Vocal was kind of like a council campaign around positive mental health, essentially Get Vocal. They sponsored the football club. So again, the football club have been a part of encouraging that kind of positive messaging around mental health. And it kind of got to the point where what more can we do other than kind of the branding and the kind of campaign around that? what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as a football club, I think we spoke about it earlier. A lot of like blokes come to the football club to games, and it was around actually we can support some of these people that might need to access a group like that that probably wouldn't do in other settings. So kind of because it's at the football club, it's removing one of them barriers. It's something that they're already a part of.
It's a little less formal as well. Informal, should I say?
Yeah. Like you said, they might not be inclined to go to see a therapist or go to a counsellor, but actually to go for a brew at the football club with a bunch of blokes.
If that's how it's painted, then it makes, like say, the barriers, because there's probably quite a lot for someone that is in that situation, and obviously that removes one of them, which makes it a lot easier, I guess, doesn't it? So that if you make that environment seem as welcoming or make it as welcoming as it is, then you've done a good job there just doing it in itself. And if that's the first part, I guess. So that's good. I think that's powerful for people coming down.
And I think even though, like I said, we're part of the football club with the community trust, there's blokes that come to the group that aren't football fans.
Yeah.
We've got guys that that are season ticket holders, but we've got others that aren't really into football or sport, but actually they still come. Yeah.
Well, it's the group itself is so diverse. I mean, you've got lads from all different walks of life, all different cultures, like ethnicities, all sorts of different things. But like for that 2 hours a week, they've just got that common ground of supporting each other. Like even when somebody's coming out with something that they initially think that nobody else would understand it, there's somebody across the room sat from them there, and then they'll chip in with a bit of advice for them and something like that. And then that person's like, well, do you know what? I never even thought about doing it that way. Like I said, going back to that camaraderie side of it as well, like it's so supportive. It's fantastic. It really is.
I think a big thing as well, like, especially for stuff like this, and it's the same with that, different with the actually like the NHS approach to mental health. Your session is completely non-judgmental, non-discriminatory. Like it's that level of trust is built straight away because a lot of people, and I mean, I'm definitely included, you go to the doctors and you think, they're definitely going to judge me.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to judge me. I'm a young man who has kind of lost his way and now he says he's got depression. That's not the case. With these groups, it's like you go in, there's 12, 13 lads around the table, having a brew, kind of going, and they're all talking about the problems and everyone's like, this.
But they feel part of that group, don't they?
But no one goes out thinking, not sure about that.
Because you're all in the same boat, aren't you? Like ultimately, we're all in the same boat.
You're there for one purpose, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
For one purpose.
I think that's been one of the best things about it. No matter how many people have been there each week, if someone's kind of spoke about something they're going through, there's always been someone there that can go, I get where you're coming from. Because even if it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, like, I've been where you are, and it's that kind of peer support, sharing that advice. Rarely me and Dan, we don't tell people what they should or shouldn't do anyway. We merely facilitate. It's blokes in the group that are sharing their kind
they
of
run the
stories.
sessions. It's kind of like they're going.
I mean, don't get us wrong. We still put, we still put our advice in there, don't we? Things like that. But it's like you say, it's ultimately it's just shared experiences and what people have done in certain circumstances and things like that. And like I say, it's maybe like a light bulb moment for somebody that they're going through something and they've tried every single different avenue, and then there's one thing that they haven't done, and somebody will mention it and they'll be like, boom, right, and give it a go. So I suppose with mental health, it's one of those things that you can't just categorize it and like one thing fixes all, does it? Like everybody's different and everybody has their own approaches to dealing with it. So like I say, having those different ideas banded about by like-minded people, it's only going to benefit them.
That's probably the worst thing, isn't it? That someone would feel alone in that situation, and that's the group fixes that straight away, knowing that there's other guys sat around that when someone goes and say something, and you're like, I resonate with that. All of a sudden, all the defense mechanisms will just go. Sharing that vulnerability will be like, well, I'm going to share mine with you now. And then all of a sudden, even if you just sat there and listened in the group, then saying, you ever had that before?
You almost see that kind of relief on their face when you're like, oh, it isn't just
someone
me,
doesn't say anything.
It's
and
not just me that's feeling
like
that, or you've had that experience, or it happens all the time. And I think it is that, like, oh, actually, I'm not on my own. Because when you're going through that, you can feel like you're the only person in the world, and that, other people's lives are brilliant, and why is it just me? But so in that 2 hours, and again, we're not saying we've got all the answers, but we can't fix everything in that 2 hours. But how many times have we seen blokes come in where they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders, and then by the end of it, just by offloading and venting a bit, and other people kind of chipping in, they leave laughing, joking, like a little bit lighter.
The thing is, as well, though, we've had blokes come in that and just to put it out there as well, like, yeah, it's a talking group, but you're not forced to talk.
No.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, like obviously, like we touched on a minute ago in terms of like the anxiety of actually coming up and coming into the session, like, you know, it's a difficult thing in itself to do that. So, you know, like you've got that freedom of expression. You can talk if you want to. You can pass it on to the next person if you want to. But what we've seen with quite a few of the lads where they've come in and it's been like there's been that closed book and it's like, oh no, I'm not ready to talk yet. But even through listening and being able to relate
Just
to other
being
people,
there.
like you sort of. It, like I say before, like you see the weight come off them and like they come in, they're hunched and they're all closed off, like folded arms and stuff. By the end of the session, they're sat like relaxed out, like
Feet up.
yeah, like but laughing and joking,
amazing,
like having a laugh and a smile and a joke with the lads and things, and that is exactly what it was designed to do, isn't it? Really, like.
And that all links back to obviously the first episode with Nathan Parker, and he's saying like one conversation can be the most powerful conversation that someone has in their time frame where they think the world is on their shoulders. And I think that's literally get vocal is probably the most perfect term for the session, because it's like what we started was like just talk. It was,
and like the
that's
interesting
it.
you said, well, that's the same thing that we said was like, look, we're not experts, and we said that time and time again on when we started our podcast, like none of us are really in a position necessarily when you look at it from like the NHS point of view and things like that, being qualified, going to uni, studying psychology. None of us have done that for years and years and years, but we can relate to people. That makes it easy, and we can understand people as well.
And we say that at the start of every week, don't we? If we get a new member that joins, for example, a new bloke comes in, we make it really clear that, you know, we're here to facilitate. We're not doctors, we're not psychiatrists, we're not counsellors. We're merely trained to facilitate conversations around mental health.
We've got mental health first aid certificates.
We are, but we
Nothing.
just to kind of say that, you know, it isn't that kind of setting. It
I don't
really
think it
relaxed.
has to be like that, because
No,
then it does twig in someone's brain. They go, hold on, it's going to be really clinical.
Yeah,
Exactly.
as soon as you're in a clinical setting, it's like, ooh,
exactly.
It's a professional environment, though, isn't it?
Just
Like,
two guys running a group that's just having a chat. They think, oh, it's all right then.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
we're going to have a laugh, and that's where you probably created that environment in that group again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we kind of obviously mentioned before, but Cal uses a term which I hadn't heard, and I'm not really particularly, I'm not a particular fan of it, but it's like emotional intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Like when was like, that's an open question to the pair of you, but when was the first kind of like you were really zoned into your emotional intelligence and like where you think?
I'll let you go first.
tough question, that. Like,
Sorry to throw you on the spot.
No,
I did mention it before we started.
No, good question in fairness, but like
Get my notes
in,
out.
Where's the phone?
in terms of my emotional intelligence, I think like for me personally, like I've got a history of like mental health conditions. I've had anxiety. Well, I've got anxiety and depression and things like that. I'm more capable of managing it now, but I think for me, when I hit my early 20s and I sort of realised what I was going through, and like it sort of opens you up a little bit more to the thinking of like your emotional intelligence and things like that. And it's not as simple as just pulling your bootstraps up and getting on with things, is it? And things like that. There's a lot more that plays into it. So yeah, for me, like it was probably my early 20s, and like I say, for me, it was mainly around my mental health. But like at the start of, I think it was my early 20s, mid 20s, that like I lost a few friends. And that sort of enhanced it even further, because I was like, you know, Jesus Christ, like these are lads that I've grown up with and like I've got memories with and all that sort of stuff. And I could have helped them. I could have done more. I could have done something else. And it gets your mind thinking and stuff like that. So yeah, like I say, like through my own experiences, my personal experiences with my own mental health conditions and stuff like that, and seeing what my friends have been through, it sort of just tuned me into like, I knew like, yeah. If that makes any sense, I just sort of waffled at the end.
No. I think we'll come back onto that. You were going to say something then?
No, yeah, probably a bit later for me. I think, yeah, it's tough. I think growing up, I've had like friends, family that have suffered with mental health, but I think I've kind of I've always struggled talking with people, even with my wife, my mum, like family, being really like honest about maybe how I'm feeling at times.
Yeah.
So I think even doing Get Vocal last year, like I think the change in me in the past year in terms of probably being more vulnerable and talking more has massively helped, and probably reflecting more over the past few years as I've like got older and matured on actually what, you know, talk about mental health, not like to be diagnosed with something, but just on a day-to-day basis of feeling good and positive. What does that look like for me? And actually reflecting on like Nathan said, exercising, listening to music, knowing actually when I am having a bad day, what can I do that's positive to rectify that?
Yeah. Well, that's the start of it, isn't it? If you understand that, because a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people aren't even on that level. Like, say they can't even understand themselves what's going on to be able to then even say it to someone else. So that's like the first barrier. Yeah. Then it's saying it to someone else. Then it's saying it to maybe a group. Then actually fixing it, or getting to the point where you feel like you can cope with it, or deal with that. That's like the last part. There's so many different stages before that come to that conclusion, I guess.
I remember when sorry, go on.
No, you go first.
I remember when the first session we were sat in Get Vocal, and we were kind of like a bit like nervous, anxious, like who's going to walk through the door? Like, are we going to be able to like hold a conversation for 2 hours with essentially a group of strangers? And then obviously it went ahead. It was great. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, I'm facilitating this group, and like, is it unprofessional of me to like actually talk about? Because I was going through something at the time, then it kind of came at a really good time to Get Vocal group in a way for myself as well. I was like, is it unprofessional if I speak about how I'm feeling? But then I was like, actually, I'm sat here like trying to, reduce the stigma around mental health. It's okay to talk, all that. But then if I'm like bottling stuff up as well.
Yeah. 100%.
So again, the group, like we both said it, haven't we? Like, even on a week where you might just have a bit of like a stressful week, just to kind of offload and vent in a group.
So you feel like really it makes it easier for you to run it because you both had experiences of that, and it's easier for you to then resonate to someone and listen and that kind of.
And I think as well, like with us being like putting ourselves in a bit of a vulnerable position, opening up about our past and what we're going through currently and all that sort of stuff. It builds those relationships, like going back to what we were saying before, about like people sharing experiences, being able to relate. Like if we're just sat there and we're like, oh God,
they'll look up to you for that.
Well, this is what I mean. It brings that, like, it brings it all together, sort of thing. So we like going off what we were saying outside before we came up to record, me personally, I was sat there at the start of it thinking, Jesus Christ, am I the right person for this? Like, can I do this? Am I going to be equipped to do this? Like, and I did get nervous for it, but like I say, through sharing experiences and being vulnerable and opening up and things like that, you build those relationships, and it enables the other lads in the group to just go, boom, there it is. Like, this is my problem. How can I deal with it?
You're always going to have that at the beginning as well, aren't you? It's like anything, though, when you're doing it for the first time, you're going to have a little bit of doubt in there.
Of course.
It's new, isn't it? You've never done it before. And we were like that when we first did the podcast, wasn't it? Jesus.
We both sat there, and it was like, I remember vividly, we both, after we recorded, it was like, I just don't think anyone will listen to that.
No, yeah.
And then we sat there, and we're like,
should we do it again?
Well, in your case, you can't.
Start it again.
Someone will listen eventually.
Yeah, you can't press pause.
But like, it's the unknown, isn't it? It's that whole, and it's the same thing with mental health. It's the unknown of, if you just have one conversation, or if you kind of have 10, or you don't have that conversation, you don't know what's around the corner, kind of thing. And me, like this here, like sometimes that's the thing that feeds it the most, though, because it's kind of like you like that stability. And like we were talking before about routine and stuff, like routine is probably the biggest non-prescribed cure to mental health. I agree.
Yeah,
and it's, I mean, I know for a fact when my routine's dropping. Because that's when I start sleeping.
Same.
And it's like, I play football twice a week. If I don't play football twice a week, I know I'm going to struggle.
Yeah.
And if I don't do this, I'm going to struggle. Sleeping pattern, I'm going to struggle. And that's it. Like, you can gain control again and kind of therapize. I'm not going to use that word all the time, don't I?
You like that one?
I like therapize.
sort of, like, sorry to interrupt there, but like sort of going like, a bit further into that, like, so that's also like, I'm going into my youth work sort of stuff now here, but that's like the resilient framework, isn't it?
To say that
like, if you do these different things like throughout life, you build a structure and a routine for yourself, and you feel good. But as soon as you take one of those things out, so say for example, like for us, we played rugby together, didn't we? So like, say for example, if I miss rugby, I didn't have them feel good endorphins running around my body after training with the boys or going out and playing. I didn't have that socialisation with the lads, before and after, or, even during the game.
Like
and things like that.
Effect.
So as soon as you take one of those things out, there's a lot of other factors in your life that sort of fall away. And like not only do we do do I do that in my youth work, but it works across all ages. It's not just like for young people and things like that. It's about that structure.
It's how the brain ticks.
It's a common theme. It's a really common theme in the group where guys will like sometimes reel off like, well, Monday I'm doing that, then Tuesday I'm doing that, and it's very much like they've got stuff to look forward to that's good for their mental health, and that's where other people in the group pick up on ideas. Like we've got guys that go to like spiritual like healing places that go running,
Therapists,
that go to
counsellors,
football.
all sorts, yeah.
It can be
Wide
anything,
mix, so
can't
it's
it?
kind of like sharing, I might try that, or mindfulness, journaling, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
See, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That is a big one that I did not do before I was told to do it by my wife. When I was struggling during COVID, she was like, right, I'm fed up. Not fed up. I shouldn't say that. That's horrendous. I'm so sorry. She will watch
She'll watch this
And
back
she'll
now.
be like, I wasn't fed up. But she's kind of like, we need to get control of this again. And she told me to write a gratuity list.
Yeah.
Right? Everything you're grateful for, did. Everything that you feel about yourself,
Yeah.
put on a piece of paper. Ripped out a piece of paper that I felt bad about myself. And I was like, yeah, whatever. That's not going to work. That's so like... She put it in the bin and I was like, actually, she's right, you know. Them little worries that you write down on a piece of paper, and it goes back to what Nathan said.
Yeah.
They don't feel half as bad when you get them out, do they?
That's it.
But I think going back to routine and like constants in your life, that's where my anxiety stems from, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm a proper comfort zone stayer. And I know if that's a bad term or phrase or whatever, but
No, I know exactly what you
anything
mean.
out of a comfort zone, I am finished.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with like you saying about losing friends and stuff. And I was the same with my grandparents. Like my nan got dementia, and then you start watching people kind of decline, and because then people always think you're going to be constantly around, and once they're not, it's like, well, that equilibrium of life is kind of like, whew,
Yeah.
you're like, "Woo," and you're on the edge of a cliff going, hello.
It's still vulnerable, doesn't it?
But yeah, it is. It's a vulnerability that, yeah. But yeah,
Going back to your question before, in terms of like what, so if anyone's sat there thinking, right, well, we know what it is now. We know what Get Vocal is. We know what it's about. We know what it involves. What would a typical session look like? Or session sounds clinical, doesn't it? A little bit.
yeah.
Does
But
it?
like,
I suppose that's what the boys call it, though.
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
their session for them.
When I said it, then I just thought, yeah, just in terms of what the actual,
Yeah.
the
what does
time that you spend together
What
looks
does the
like.
meetup do?
Yeah.
What does a meetup look like?
I couldn't think of what it was then, but yeah, what would a typical?
Actually, no. Let me tell you, because I've been an experienced.
Go for it. Here we
So there's
go.
an introduction, which is very.
I want to make it from the boys.
Okay.
I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
I'm not the facilitator.
Go on.
Sorry. No, better coming from the
It's very simple, isn't it? It's essentially, you know, me and Dan are outside the entrance of the North Stand in our really bright shirts. You can't
miss it.
Because again, we're always mindful that in terms of like, didn't want barriers to the group. So we didn't want, oh, you've got to register or let us know you're coming. It's very much turn up.
And
So
talk.
we never know who's going to turn up. Obviously, a lot of the time now we get regulars coming back, but there might always be a new person. So meet them outside, and it's literally through into the room, grab a seat, grab a brew, and you know we usually just start off with, if there's a new person, we go over kind of basic ground rules like reminding them it's non-judgmental, it's a safe space. We're not kind of, you know,
all confidential.
everything's
As well.
confidential. And it sounds simple, but it's just, how's your week been? And we were blown away every week, aren't we? Like, we'll ask the question, how's your week been? So last Monday, how's your week been? Each go around the room, answer it, and it's like, it's 7:30 already. It took an hour and a half, and it's like 10 guys have just spoke about their week and got all that off their chest and supported each other. Because that was one of the things we were mindful of, like, how are we going to fill 2 hours? Like, how are we going to talk for 2 hours?
Easy.
Even
Lies,
when we had
man.
the smaller group, though,
Yeah.
like, you know, like that, it was sort of daunting as well. Because, like, when you only had 2 people turning up, and you're thinking, how are we going to fill these 2 hours? Like, you know, and again, just to point out, like, the session is 2 hours. You don't have to stay the 2 hours. Like, if you've got somewhere you need to be, or you just feel like you only want to come for the hour, then great. But yeah, like, but even in the early stages when we only had like a few blokes turning up, like the sessions
Still flew by.
went like,
Yeah.
it was unbelievably quick. And like I said, like we're still doing that now. Like you'll look down at your watch and you'll think, oh my God. Like,
Now there's more. You probably have to let the group kind of, because you can't get around. You know, like
Yeah,
you,
no,
you
and they
have
get,
to kind
the
of let
guys
the group
get
do the
that.
thing.
He's almost like, right, we're going to have to move it on a little bit.
Yeah.
But making sure everyone gets that equal time to talk.
yeah,
really.
where they can get stuff.
And
yeah.
they get that, and they're so supportive of each other, aren't they? Like I said, such a mix of people in the group, of men in the group, but everyone, like I said, blokes that, you know, normally probably wouldn't mix in the same circles and probably would never have met each other.
Yeah.
But they all are, you know, they all support each other, and it's really good to see.
And it extends further though as well than like just the group as well. So like something that I've sort of wanted to touch on today as well is that like from the group we've developed a WhatsApp group as well. Yeah. So lads that turn up to the session that want to have their number put into the WhatsApp group, more than welcome to. It's there for the lads to just use as a note of support and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go naming names or what the situation was, but one of the lads that's in the group was going through a particularly tough time, like, and he'd worried about the situation and all this. So, and there was messages of like confidence to him before he'd gone to this situation, and then as soon as he'd come back, everyone was like, "How's it gone? Are you okay?" Do you want about that?
That's
and,
amazing.
It's brilliant. Like the way that it's developed is just, the best thing about it is it's not been forced. It's just been completely natural.
Yeah,
and the lads have felt it, like they've filtered into it with it. Like, that's so brilliant. It's just made it's easy for us to do it, really. Like, because the people that come, they want the support, like, and they're there for each other as well. So.
What would you say, like, in terms of would be the most common? Is there like a common theme that I know you're not going to say what situation, but in terms of like when you go round the room, is it like there is a common thing that most of the guys will say that they're feeling a certain way, or is it like why they're there for a certain reason? Is it something that pops up?
There's a mix, isn't there? There's like relationships breaking down. There's been one, people financial work stress, people that have been signed off work. Been diagnosed with like anxiety, depression, a mix, really.
It's a real like mixed bag. Like, but then again, it's like, I know I keep touching on things that I've already said, but even though it is so varied, you tend to see like there'll be somebody that's going through something similar, or even just something that's completely different. But there'll be like that moment where they just interact and they can cross and they have that sharing point and things. So regardless of whether they're all going through the same thing or that everybody's different, there's still that, like, the main aim at the end of it is just support and help.
Because I think I've always said to you, haven't I, in terms of like even though the context might be different, as in like the actual situation that someone might be going through, the feeling is the exact same.
Yeah, exactly.
Your body's response and your brain's response is the exact same no matter what that stressor is. Yeah. So having a group there where there's 10 different people that've got 10 different problems probably, but if you ask them all how they're feeling, probably all of them will say exactly the same, or roughly in and around the same. That fear, that kind of worry that they're not maybe good enough for whatever it is that they want to go and do or whatever. There's probably multiple. I think that's powerful.
I think 100%. I think no matter, everyone's got a journey. Yeah. Ultimately, the same output is the end point is the same end point. It's just everything that makes the big tree. The top of the tree is still how they feel, isn't it? It's just it is crazy. But just going back to kind of, I want to touch base of like why Get Vocal for you, kind of why it was something that you really joined in and really embraced, because I've been, and I can see you both throw yourself in it so well. It's just, I think it's weird, and don't say it's the wrong way, Brett.
Oh, go on.
You come across like rugby player like this. Yeah.
Cheers.
To be honest with you, Dan, didn't know you played rugby.
Cheers.
Sorry, mate. It's gonna be
more of a footballer.
I'd say a typical look. I'm a
but I think it's great.
Rapid.
I think.
Thank you.
Stigma kind of, or stereotypes kind of say, looking at you two, you go, yeah, they're fine. There's nothing behind the curtain there. But I think that's great because you are both show vulnerability and bravery at the same time, which kind of leads other people to kind of go, well, they can do it. So what was it with Get Vocal that kind of made you two kind of go, oh, yeah, this is something that we can really make a change here?
I think for me, like, again, growing up with friends, family, or even through rugby and being involved in sport and knowing like lads that have gone through tough times, struggled, and like you said, I think sport and that kind of macho environment at times, blokes don't talk, but I think I've been quite fortunate to the rugby club we played at, like, where people aren't going to go into the change rooms and announce, look, I'm struggling, lads. But people within that kind of setting would be aware of stuff that's going on, and there'd be messages of support in the WhatsApp group, or people are pulling for a chat. So I think for me, seeing like other lads that were my age or that I went to school with or close friends with, family struggle, and I just think in general, I just think the statistics around like men's mental health, like the fact that the four of us, like, we're most likely to die by suicide, but men under the age of 50 is shocking.
Yeah.
And it is because of that kind of, it's ingrained in us as men to kind of not talk, don't cry.
Men don't cry.
Man up, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I just think it's something I'm really passionate about, kind of talking more. And I think through doing the work, it has genuinely helped me as well in terms of talking more with my wife, with my actual own friends. Where I look back at, like, I've got like the worst sense of humour, like inappropriate sense of humour that I won't talk about the podcast.
I was about to say.
But like in terms of some of the stuff,
Slow it down.
Yeah, some of the stuff.
YouTube guidelines are strict.
Some of like the kind of challenges our friendship group have like gone through, lads have gone through. It's like looking back at when we were younger, like how we maybe like handled like. It's like it's not great, but again, if I'd have been like, "Oh, you okay, mate?" I mean,
It's changed
you'd probably
now,
laughed at
hasn't it?
me and been like,
It
"What are
has
you on about?"
changed.
It is crazy.
It's like we handle it with banter instead, and it's
we
like,
had this conversation a couple of months ago, actually, like where if someone said they're struggling, and I'm not going to use the phrase, but you kind of pass it off and you kind of go, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Whereas now it's like let's take a minute.
Yeah, it's different.
Let's
Something
dissect
the
every problem.
shift it's changing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and I think it's great because I think it's sessions like Get Vocal. It's people talking on a podcast, or it's people coming to meet, or walk and talk sessions. Everything that the Community Trust does, which is fantastic. It's kind of making this shift in mindset in society as well.
Absolutely.
It's not just at these sessions this happens. Lads in general are now a bit more aware of other people's feelings.
Breaking the stigma.
It is.
I think there's still a long way to go, but I
we're nowhere near finished.
Noticed the change though. I always think of the Mickey Flanagan sketch, where he's like, his missus says like, "Oh, have you been to the pub with the lads? How's his wife?" And he's like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Like, how was he? I don't know. What you talk
didn't
about?
ask him.
Like, you go to the pub, you don't, as a bloke, like, not that it's right, but I don't go to the pub with my mates who had a bad day and start talking about my worries.
Yeah.
Because it's
You
almost
just talk
for you.
about almost
It's banter, isn't it?
That's the escape, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's your release. Like we talked about it on ours, and we're like,
Didn't a whole episode on it? Sure we did. Yeah, we did. It's like escapism. We did.
yeah, all right, yeah, we did,
Yeah.
yeah. This is the Get Vocal podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
just saying in terms of the actual topic.
But that is, I think, and that's it. Like with your escapism, you almost want to. Someone says, "Are you all right?" And you go, "Yeah, I'm all right." But can we talk about this tomorrow? But I'm not in this safe space kind of environment where this is my breakout, and that's what we were saying. Wasn't it? Like for you, it's kind of training or going to the gym / work.
Both same thing.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I just live in a gym, basically.
And it's for me, it's kind of going to football, going to concerts, and it is. You don't kind of in your head, you're like, I probably shouldn't be asking them about that when they're trying to relax.
No,
but no, it's
they say as well, don't you have to ask 3 times? Like,
Yeah.
no. Are you really okay?
Yeah. And someone that comes to the group and it stuck with me from like session 1 or 2, and it was like, and I'm guilty of it myself if I've like, I've had a bad day or whatever it is. Are you okay? And you go, not bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does not bad mean?
Yeah.
So then it's almost like you're asking for someone to be like, "No, what you are,
what's going on?"
And then that might then lead to a conversation of actually, whatever it may be. So,
Or could be better, or something like.
It's not like, I'm great.
Yeah. You know when the answer. I think that is a part of the emotional intelligence that we're talking about in terms of knowing that in someone else. That'll help you with the groups, and then that it's almost like a snowball effect where you're doing that. And then, like you say, if you're improving it, then the people around you that you're speaking to. So even though you might think that you just doing it yourself isn't really impacting that much, it is, because you start looking at how that spreads and how that how something negatively can do that. So previously, before all this thing, well, why it's got that bad is because it spreads like wildfire. People will just end up ignoring it and so on. Now it's changing. It's actually changing the opposite way. And as soon more people do it, the more people are going to be influenced by it, if you want to call it that, and then get to the point where they feel like...
I think it's like you said, noticing people's behaviours as well. Like, we're always mindful if we've not seen someone for a couple of weeks, we'll drop them a text, or if it's in your own friendship group, like someone's been quiet in the group chat, or they've not been to rugby or to footy or whatever, it's kind of thinking, I'll just check in on them, checking they're all right, and they might be fine, but actually, it's always worth checking.
100%.
That's massive.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the future. What has the future got in store for Get Vocal? And I don't mean future episodes of the podcast. Where do you see the
going global?
Where do you see the sessions going, and where do you think
there's endless possibilities with it? Isn't there, really? I mean, like it's. I mean,
we stand out, don't we?
We
get ripped in the office, don't we? Like, oh, it's Monday again. They've got the shirts.
I'll have you know, I went to Norway wearing this, and the amount of people that asked me what shirt it was on the cruise because they were like, I really like that. So I'm not going to listen to that one. But no, in terms of
work top on holiday.
So I did it purely because I wanted to share a photo with the group chat with the lads, doing something for my positive well-being. So when I was on the cruise in Norway, I went out on the deck and I had my photo in it and all that sort of stuff and sent it in. That was my positive thing for that week.
It was great. We were all in Blackpool.
Oh, mate, I want one of these, but there's only 5 made.
Limited edition,
made.
limited edition,
mate.
Yeah.
But no, like going back to your previous question though, in terms of where can Get Vocal go, like the possibilities are endless really, because mental health isn't just something that affects men. It's every single person, you know, whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't discriminate. It's everybody, isn't it? So, you know, like we've had chats about potentially setting up like youth groups, women's groups, like pre-postnatal and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? So there's like, you know, it doesn't matter where you look, there's always an avenue for opportunity, but obviously like it all comes down to funding, sustainability and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, as good as it can potentially be, you know, we've got to do that groundwork in order to make sure that it can happen first.
Yeah.
So, but
I think that's it really for me. It's
He
smashed it there.
He
smashed it.
nothing else to say.
But what he said,
coming for that manager's job.
I just tried to say,
No, for
Tomorrow
me,
when
the
you go
biggest
in-
success.
I'll cover you back tomorrow.
The biggest success for me is the fact that we've had every session we've ran from day one, even though we might have had a couple of people to start with, we've never yet had a week where no one's turned up.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is something to be proud of.
Every Monday there's always been at least one person or two people, then it's gradually got bigger. So for me, just kind of, we've said it from the start, it's not about numbers. We're not, you know, if 50, 60, 70 people turn up, then wow, we need a bigger room to start with.
Yeah.
But if one person
Get on the pitch.
get out there. But if one person turned up every single week for the year, I'd class that as a success. So the fact that now we're getting 12, 13 guys, and overall I think we've had 32
odd
different
across
over
the
a year.
weeks. Yeah,
Wow. That's good.
So
Well, it's like it's going back to something that I've heard you say in previous podcasts and something that I've heard you say today as well. It's not a quantitative game for us. It's quality. Like if we can help one person and we can not change somebody's mindset, but you know, give him an opportunity of hope or something that they can do that's going to positively construct their life, then we've done it.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Anything else after that is a bonus, going off your word. So yeah, like like I say, the main aim is just helping people, and the more people we can do is better. But
yeah,
even just doing one person
That
is a start, isn't it?
resonated, isn't it? It's that one little thing that brings everyone together. And I think that's that, like you say, the Get Vocal session. It's just
So I guess a question would be, if I was considering it and I'm listening to this, do I literally turn up? Where do I turn up? Like
Turn
what?
up. So-
Yeah, North Stand. But like,
North
just if
Stand.
someone's
I
listening,
was going to pick
North
one of the
Stand,
coasters up then and just point at the camera.
North
Like, do you know
Stand.
what?
Yeah, there you go.
Have that. Yeah, turn up, talk, get it off your chest.
it's basically just
That's
like
essentially
That
on
is-
the
yeah.
camera though, Dan. Really simple.
I like it.
But yeah,
Don't be
every
doing me
Monday-
like that.
every
Not my first
Monday,
podcast.
6:00, we're outside the North Stand community up. And again, we do get, although you don't have to kind of register or sign up or anything, we do get people that will inquire, or
Yeah,
people
that's
from
what-
other
yeah.
services will like actually refer someone in or say,
Oh, wow.
can you give this bloke a ring?
Yeah.
So again, we have given guys a ring before just to kind of have a chat with them and almost put them at ease to say, it is just a brew and a chat. Like, we'll meet you outside 10 minutes before. But so we've had that, for example, but we do get blokes that just walk in.
Yeah.
So see you Monday, Cal.
I usually working on it. That's why I can't go.
I know,
but I need to make one.
Yeah.
I need to make one.
No, we will. We will. It's do you know what? It's Spencer, because I feel like I probably would have felt a lot lighter a lot sooner in my journey if these sessions have been so openly available from way before
Yeah,
they
yeah.
started. And I think this is a massive step. And I'm not just saying it because we are on the Get Vocal podcast, but I think like these sessions are so important in changing that stigma that we are starting to slowly see a massive change in mindset.
Well, I touched on something earlier in regard to like losing friends and things like that, and I think that was a huge reason for me stepping forward and wanting to do this group, because it's 3 years to the day today that I lost one of like my good mates, and you know, if there was these things available at that time, like, and I know it was like you're only talking 3 years ago, but like the way that it's developed so much in these last few years, even if there was something like that prior to that point, you know, that person might still be here with us today, and like life could have been much more different for him. But like that, I keep saying it, but it ties back just to help support and get like, you know, get people talking, get like, you know, it's like say breaking stigmas, like do you know what? Like the best thing about the group for me is like you'd sort of expect it to be lads within their early 20s to the late 30s and things like that, but the majority of the group, 40 plus.
Yeah.
So we're talking about guys that have grown up through that stigma where it's boys don't cry, you know, or stop being a girl, like if you get hurt, and like they're proof.
It's almost where that's come from, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that generation
Yeah.
almost a little bit.
But it's proof.
And now
that-
they're starting to change that, because I think our generation as such are starting to become a bit more clued up on it earlier on, if that makes sense.
It's just awareness.
But that's a big thing, that if they're in that kind of 40 plus, because then, you know, like I say, it doesn't necessarily matter how old you are or whatever. It affects everybody at any time, or it can happen at any point. So it's not just saying as soon as you reach a certain age that's it, you might as well forget about it. So that's a positive thing for people listening, because, you know, think of, you know, the people that will come to the games, for example. You know, if they get catch on or they see a little ad somewhere or whatever, they hear it. That's powerful. That's massive.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up there. Thank you very much.
It's all down to you, the work that you're doing. It's not, I know it's an initiative from someone else, but it's the work that you two
guys
are
are
doing.
running this, and you guys are leading it, and you guys are making the change, as well as everybody involved with the Get Vocal and the Community Trust. It's incredible.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Incredible.
It's a pleasure doing it. It really is. Like every Monday we get to, you kind of think every Monday working till late. It's like, oh yeah, late one again tonight. But actually,
How it
we're
makes
in
you
that
feel
session.
when you
We
leave.
love it.
Do you know what? I'm going to put a bit of a scupper in that though. Like, although, we facilitate and stuff like that. Ultimately, it's the guys that attend. They make that session. They're there supporting each other. They're there coming out with the ideas. I mean, like, there's like the support that goes on between the blokes. Like, there was a bloke that needed paperwork in order for his divorce work and all this sort of stuff. One of the other guys who's been through that experience before, he's printed off all these sheets for him, told him how to go about it and things like that. Went, sat down on the beer together and went through it. So like, they make the group. It's not us. Like, we sit there. We turn up. We're there every Monday, like 6 till 8, but it's them. It's the blokes that turn up.
It starts there, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And then grows,
And then So like I say, we're just the facilitators. It's those guys that come in and they share their experiences and they give advice to each other and all that. They're the people who make the group. They're what makes it special.
So get yourself down.
And get vocal.
That's it.
You've ruined it. I was going to give it a big old, you know.
Take
So thank you very much for watching the Get Vocal podcast. Until next time, tune in, listen, get vocal.
Spread the word, baby.